Hi there, my name is John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and this is Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for the narrative lectionary, Christ the King Sunday, November 22nd, and we're looking at Isaiah chapter 5 and Isaiah chapter 11, and it is where Israel is pictured as a vineyard, as they say on the narrative lectionary website, that Israel's pictured as a vineyard, and God looks for the fruitful and the fruits of the righteousness, but only finds injustice. And it's a difficult one for a children's sermon. I'm struggling with this one. So the springboard that I'm using is this idea that when we see something and we can't make it out, and yet out of that comes something grand. And this idea that God doesn't give up on us, that this idea that when God doesn't just, if God doesn't see fruit, God doesn't just say, I'm going to get rid of you. God's grace is that God works with us, and out of that comes something great. So, the item I'm using is this workshop puzzle. It's a build and play. This idea that when you see this, you see a bunch of pieces, and it doesn't look like much. You see maybe a wheel, a piece of a block, and things like that. But the idea is that when you get done building this, you actually get a race car. That God pieces us together, and God sees the final product before we do. That God works with us, and God knows, and God loves us, and God brings us to completion. A lot of language here that I would not use in a children's sermon, but the sense that we have a puzzle that we can't see much. We don't know the end picture. But the promise is when we read the instructions, the promise is that we will have this race car. God's promise for us is that God will work in our lives, and God will bring us to completion, that God loves us, that God isn't finished with us, that God sees us as loved and continues to work with us. So that's where I'm going with this one. It's gonna take some it's gonna take some putting together. It's gonna take a little bit of work, but hopefully it's a springboard to get you thinking about that as God works with us, that God loves us, and God isn't done with us. That God always wants to call us back and to work with us and to bring us into completion. So there we go. That's where I'm going with this, and it's a springboard even for my own thinking on this. So as always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a blessed week.